Hi, good afternoon, all. Thank you so much for joining Poetry and Prose today. This is our open mic session. So I'm looking forward to today. We'll be having our open mic, our poetry discussion, and a writing session. I hope we can get it all in. And we will start off today with Cynthia. She will be reading a short story, Life Can Turn Upside Down. Cynthia, you have the floor. For everyone else, I'd like to remind you, kindly mute your mics for this portion so we can hear Cynthia clearly.
Thank you. A few years ago, I was brave enough to enter a competition, and I came up with Life Can Turn Upside Down. It was early morning, before daybreak. Mano crouched in the shade of a saman tree, hoping to remain unnoticed as he observed the house. I remember living in a house like that, tall and airy, with a flower garden, but oh, so long ago. But more pressing thoughts took over now. What am I going to find to eat? Let me look around the back. Observing no sign of life, Mano got up and went exploring to see if there might be a trash can with a scrap or two. Looking around quickly, he saw nothing that might contain foodstuff of any sort and turned to leave the back. Too late, a window upstairs flew open and he was spotted. Mano froze. "What are you doing out there?" shouted a woman agitatedly. Though it was early and not quite dawn, Mano could make out an attractive woman with wavy brown hair. "Sorry, Mom, I was hungry and just looking for something to eat." "But how you got in? The gate was closed." "The fence low, Mom. I just jumped over to find something to eat," he mumbled. But she caught his words. "Well, if that's the case, wait a moment. I'll get you something." "Thank you, Mom," Mano said, not daring to believe his luck. He thought, last 2 days, no one gave me anything. Thank God for this help. Still upstairs, Liz was thinking, I must be mad. I don't know where this man come from, and these days it is safe to encourage strangers around you. Anyway, he looking very hungry. He slipped on a house dress, came downstairs, and going to the kitchen, opened the refrigerator and took out some bread and cheese. Let me make 2 big sandwiches. He looks as though he hasn't had anything to eat for a while. Probably needs some juice too. She prepared the sandwiches and took them with a cup of juice to the back door, looking around for the man. He got up from the shade of a hedge and came towards her. There were 2 cheese sandwiches and some orange juice. He took them gratefully. "Thank you, Mom. I could sit here and eat them." Liz nodded and Mano turned back to the spot by the hedge, sat and began to devour the bread and cheese. Liz turned back into the kitchen but kept a wary eye on him from time to time till he had finished. He doesn't look sinister, but then one never knows. Having eaten every crumb, Mano walked off to the front, scaled the wall as easily as he had done before, and set off down the road. Liz brought her mind back from the shabby man she had just fed. By the look of things, a meal he had not had in several days. Let's see what I'll wear to lunch. I can't wear that new red number because I had it on last week at the bridge club. I don't want the girls to think I have nothing else to wear. Liz was preoccupied with what dress to choose, which shoes, handbag, and jewelry would look best. Mano had completely left her consciousness. Mano, on the other hand, was thinking back to the kind person he had just encountered. She seemed like an angel. Light brown hair framed a kindly face, he recalled. But he had been so hungry that he doubted that he would recognize her if he saw her again anywhere else. Too bad that I was so hungry, but maybe one day I'll see her again. After a leisurely breakfast and a half attentive ear to the day's news, Liz phoned a friend to confirm the venue for lunch. Nella, we're meeting at the yacht club at noon, aren't we? Good. I'll see you then. She hung up the receiver and checked on her outfit for lunch. Not too dressy, but there was a touch of class, and of course something in fashion now. Can't go to the yacht club not looking best. At 11:30, she was ready and brought a trendy silver blue Honda Accord out of the garage and closing her automatic gate behind her, set off to the west of the island where the yacht club, with its colorful bobbing boats, was situated. Soft music and the happy chatter of the assembling group awaited her as she entered the bright and cheerful dining area, painted white and accentuated with blue cushions on the chairs and settees dotted around, picking up the bluish seas beyond. Liz mingled with old friends and was introduced to a few newcomers. A happy and carefree gathering. Some married with husbands at work and others like her still single. Not that Liz dwelt on that fact. She was comfortable and contented just the way she was. And from all accounts, marriage wasn't always all that was cracked up to be. After a few minutes, drinks in clutching drinks in their hands, the group sat to have lunch. A light soup, seafood, salad, and dessert of a selection of fruit was perfect for Liz and her friends, who were all intent on maintaining their near perfect figures. None of them wished to be ostracized by the others for looking pudgy or, God forbid, obese. They went to the gym, jogged, or swam, doing whatever would ensure that they kept trim and attractive. Not letting down the side was one of their mantras after all. After lunch, they continued to sit around over coffee or drinks, discussing their families or the next event on their social calendar. Eventually, the party broke up, and Liz, somewhat reluctantly, went out to her car and set off for home. Only when she neared the gate did she spare a thought for her encounter of the morning. But that was a thought that she dismissed almost immediately. He will hardly come this way again. Meantime, many miles away on the other side of town, Mano found a small space he thought safe enough and settled down. He would probably remain there for the night. After his breakfast of cheese sandwiches, he had not been lucky to have another meal, but at least tonight he knew that he had had some nourishment for the day. Most days now that was not the case. Look at me now, he thought. 2 years ago I had a comfortable life, a steady job and a small income, small but regular. But Bee's illness changed all that almost overnight. With the two young children, I had no choice. I had to give up the job and look after them. Bee, poor soul, worried that I had to care for them alone, but she had no strength. When she died, I fell apart. Good thing Bee's sister could take the children. At least they aren't suffering, but they're so far away. If only I could see them. Mano must have dozed off, for the next thing he knew was that a young man was nudging him. Man, you can't sleep here, you know. It's too dangerous. Go somewhere else. Because when those fellows pass here later, they go beat you up. Mano mumbled, thanks, and looked around. Maybe that young fellow is right. Let me find another spot. Having no home to go to and no one who could give him a lodging, the best he could do was move along again and hope to find somewhere more secure for tonight. Now and then he got an odd job, a stint as a laborer or a street sweeper, but nothing lasted. He didn't belong. So he hit the road again, looking, but never finding anything that could put him back on his feet. At home once more, Liz put on a cool lounging outfit with cheerful flowers, turned on the TV, and settled down to relax after her luncheon. Her best friend was coming over later for a drink and a chat, and she had nothing else planned. This is the beauty of living alone, she thought. I can do what I want, when I want, without having to include the plans of anyone else. Life was good indeed. Congenial friends, pleasant activities, a comfortable home and lifestyle. She certainly had no intention of disturbing the even tenor of her life. Gersha, that's 1/3 of the story.
Thank you so much for sharing. Any
You're welcome.
comments?
I beg your pardon?
Any comments?
Oh, yeah.
Cynthia, you're just getting me interested now, man. I have to hear the rest sometime.
The next bit will come at the next meeting.
Okay.
How many segments did you end up with, Cynthia? Oh, you're muted.
Divided it into 3.
Lovely. Lovely. So this is the first section. Come to the next meeting for the next one. We've serialized it.
Gersha said she needed some time for the other section, so she asked if I could do it in installments. So
Yes.
I hope everybody will stick around for the rest.
I hope so too. I'm sure they'll come back just to hear. Okay, we're going to move along if there are no other comments to Vishnu. He'll be gracing us today with 2 pieces of poetry from Wayne Brown's On the Coast, The Tourists, and On the Coast. Vishnu, the floor is yours. And you're muted, so if you're speaking, we're not hearing you.
No.
Hi, we're hearing you now.
Okay, hear me now? Are you seeing me also?
No, we're not.
God. I don't know where I am.
I wish you could
Yeah,
just
okay. Is
There
that
we
right now?
are. We're seeing you now.
Yeah, we're seeing
Okay,
it now.
fine. Okay. So the 2 poems I'm going to read are The Tourists and On the Coast, and they are taken from Wayne Brown's On the Coast. Actually, it is Wayne Brown's only collection of poems, as far as I know, published in 1972. That's quite a while. So I'll read The Tourists first. The sun works for the tourist board was a bad joke. But now each noon the sun toils like a fisherman with a hard tide to beat, or a farmer whose wife will drop soon. And in truth, the beach is replete with strangers. Each one arranges tenderly his limbs for those brass rays, as a woman, testing each pose, changes into nothing for her lover's gaze. The natives mind their own business. Some blunt types are at it again. An English anthropologist praises the texture of his scene. The sea's heard it all before. A scene from a tourist brochure. Under that sun, all is languid, and those who come will find nothing unusual. Not one gesture or motion overdone. But for one parrotfish which turns grave somersaults on the stainless steel spear that just wants to swim, as usual, through blue. So that's the first one, the tourist of the book. Words which love ages, and that quotation is taken from Derek Walcott's Islands. The light founders, rain puckers the ocean. I see a small town, found, then forgotten, rusting in silence by a sea's edge, where liners no longer come. You came to me here, bewildered girl, your body warm and heavy with sleep. Your eyes were calamitous waters. How grave were your admonitions. Later you spoke to me quietly, as at a distance or under rain. The sea nozzles her sandspit. You were beautiful, and I loved you. Will you never be home again? The warehouse on the waterfront is empty tonight. The ocean shines. Moon, it is winter moon, a moth's wing netted in cloud. Why do I sit up these late nights barefooted on a broken pier? I never saw galleons enter the moon, nor a great house that burned on the hill. And the unpunctual fisherman who came out of nowhere suddenly, rounding the point on long oars, had nothing to say to me. Night, I'm getting nowhere. Island girl, I'm scared. Don't leave me. Across the bay, the street lamps stare like amber intersections, and aimlessly a tree's shadow splashes the seawall. The surf turns its pages on dark sand. The dark boat slip by me as by lantern. Darkness devours the voices. I land on the sandspit of memory in a winter of bees. I have no home. And those are taken from Wayne Brown's. Oh,
Hi, Vishnu. Hi, you were breaking up a little bit. Would
Oh.
like group to let me know if they want to ask you to read it again, or if everyone was able to catch what was you said.
okay, whatever you want to do. I can read it again if you want.
I'm going to ask you to read it again without the video. So hopefully we will be able to hear you better.
Okay. All right. So the two poems I'm going to read are The Tourist and On the Coast. The first one, The Tourist. The sun works for the tourist board was a bad joke. But now each noon, the sun toils like a fisherman with a hard tide to beat, or a farmer whose wife will drop again. And in truth, the beach is replete with strangers. Each one arranges tenderly his limbs for those brass rays, as a woman, testing each pose, changes into nothing for her lover's gaze. The natives mind their own business. Some blunt types are at it again. An English anthropologist praises the texture of a saying. The seas heard it all before. A scene from a tourist brochure. Under that sun, all is languid, and those who come will find nothing unusual. Not one gesture or motion overdone. But for one parrotfish which turns grave somersaults on the stainless steel spear that's just usurped its dim purpose, which was to swim, as usual, through blue air in silence, like the sun. And the other one is actually On the Coast. Words which love had hoped to use, erased with the surf's pages. And that's a quotation from Derek Walcott's Highlanders. The light found us. Rain puckers the ocean. I see a small town, found, then forgotten, rusting in silence by a sea's edge, where liners no longer come. You came to me here, bewildered girl, your body warm and heavy with sleep. Your eyes were calamitous waters. How grave were your admonitions. Later you spoke to me quietly, as at a distance on the rain. The sea nuzzles her sandspit. You're beautiful, and I loved you. Will you never be home again? The warehouse on the waterfront is empty tonight. The ocean shines. Moon, it is winter moon, a moth wing netted in cloud. Why do I sit up these late nights barefooted on a broken pier? I never saw galleons enter the moon, nor the great house that burned on the hill. And the unpunctual fisherman who came out of nowhere suddenly, rounding the point on long oars, had nothing to say to me. Night, I'm getting nowhere. Island girl, I'm scared. Don't leave me. Across the bay, the street lamps stare like amber intersections, and aimlessly a tree's shadow splashes the seawall. The surf turns at pages on dark sand. The dark boats slip by me as by a lantern. Darkness devours the voices. And I'm an orphaned islander on a sandspit of memory in a winter of days. I have no home. And both are taken, that is The Tourist and On the Coast, from Wayne Brown's collection of poems, On the Coast, first published in 1972. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Vishnu. Lovely reading. We heard you quite well the second time.
Oh, thank you.
Any comments? In the first one, I really like the line, I believe, the sun works for the tourist board. Any comments from anyone else? Kwasi said, yes, love that. Lovely pieces, Vishnu. Okay, so we'll move along to Vilma. Vilma, I know that's a tough act to follow, but I'm looking forward to hearing your short story. Life in Sawa Trace in the 60s at a crab's pace.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Everybody hearing me?
Yes,
Hello?
we are.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah. All right. So on the day after full moon each month, the residents of South Trace in La Romaine used to go to the mangrove at Mosquito Creek to catch crabs. They knew that crabs used to run abundantly on that day and at least 2 days after. So they supplemented their meals with the crabs that they caught around that time. Dal, rice, curry crabs, dal, rice and curry crabs, or crabs and dumplings, or roti and curry crabs were the popular meals heartily enjoyed by everyone at that time. The time was coming up again this month, and the men's wives started talking about it. Their children heard them and felt very excited. They liked to go to the mangrove with their parents, neighbors, and friends. It was a fun experience for them. This month, the day fell on a Monday, and all who had come home by 10 a.m. from their sugarcane fields jobs were readying to go. Finally, they set off for the half-mile trek down the main road that led to the creek. They had crocus bags to keep the crabs that they expected to catch. They also had gill pins to chop off any offending mangrove branch that might block their path, as well as any snake that might be hanging around. And most importantly, they had the thin black metal rods called pokers that were about 8 feet in length and were curved at both ends. With these hooks inserted into crab holes, the holder will pull any errant crab that was still hiding in its hole and throw it into the crocus bag. While walking to the mangrove, there were loud conversations, laughter, and jokes among the group. Finally, they arrived, and while most of them were bare feet, those who were wearing shoes had to take them off in order to plod into the thick, watery, murky mud that they had to now step into. That mud walking was painstaking. With one foot stuck in the mud, the other foot had to be pulled out from its hole at the back and placed forward into another. But they managed. Each one helped the others, and especially the children. Of course, the talking still kept on with intermittent shouts of, look, look at Crab Day. Then everyone's attention would be on that one. Gradually, one or two of the men wandered into a dense patch after a crab and were not seen again until after some minutes. So it was not surprising that Jane, one of the female members, was not accounted for nearly half an hour. She was very popular. She was a very popular neighbor, but she had no children, and her husband Brigo was not with her that day. So there was an unspoken general eye on her. Time went by and still Jane had not returned to the group. Everybody else was there, accounted for, and the crocus bag held enough crabs to comfortably share for each family. Mr. Frank said sadly, it's getting late and time to go home. Where's Jane? Some of the men went around the mangrove and tried calling her, but to no answer. Everyone became worried. They waited and walked around the mangrove some minutes more, but eventually they had no choice but to set off for home. They might have to make a report to the police if she didn't show up. They didn't want to do that though. The group had seen and passed other people doing the same thing as they were, but they didn't think there was anything to worry about. Now they wondered. Sadly, they reached the mouth of the mangrove while still looking around hopefully. As they arrived at their starting point, lo and behold, there was Jane sitting on a rock and watching them. A worried look mixed with slight amusement hovered on her face. Everyone rushed to her side. Where was you, Jane? Where was? Who's looking all over for you? Mr. Gerald said sternly and asked her where she became separated from them. She was looking exhausted as well as amazed at her adventure too. She said, me, you know, I saw a crab running and I started to follow it. Then when I look around, me, I see none earlier. I didn't know what to do. I take out my jumper. The jumper is a cotton over jacket that she would put on over her dress. And I turn it wrong side. Wrong side is like inside out. And then I sit down on it. After a while, I see the road and I follow it. And I reach here. I don't know how that happened. God must be guide me. So suddenly, nobody knew how to respond to that. So they all quietly collected their bags of crabs, hooks, and shoes and headed for home. This time there were no loud conversations or jokes. They reached Soutrace, shared the crabs equally, and went to their respective houses to clean themselves as well as the crabs, and then to cook. But in the minds of all of them, from big to small, was the thought that if they ever got lost somewhere, the way to find their way again was to take off a piece of clothing, turn it inside out, and sit on it. But somehow after that, the monthly mangrove expeditions became fewer and eventually they stopped going altogether. Because by the time they got there, the crabs were already caught by the professional crab sellers who lived in barrack houses nearer to the mangrove. Thank you very much. The end, Vilma.
Thank you so much for sharing, Vilma. I need comments. I know I have stories to get about catching crab.
Very entertaining, Vilma.
Thank you.
And coming from a familiar place, Mosquito Creek.
Uh-huh. You from around there?
No, I'm really from Pinal, but you know, I have to pass there every day to go to San Fernando.
Yes.
Crossing, and you circle there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So very entertaining.
Thank you.
Yes, very nice. My mouth's watering for a nice crab curry now, but I'll have to wait.
I wonder if they still do that like in Tobago, like it was when the crabs are running to go and catch them. I've never been.
You know, in Barbados, they don't eat crabs. The land crabs. They scorn the land crabs. They call them latrine crabs, and so consequently, they grow to be fairly large. In fact, somebody told me in Trinidad you wouldn't see such large crabs anymore. So yeah, that story brought back some memories where we were eating crabs in Barbados to the scorn of the local Barbadians.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing, Frank. Any other comments? Just be reminded, and mostly everyone is muted. So if you'd like to share, you would have to unmute.
I would say it was a cute story. I enjoyed how you read the story. I heard what you were saying. I think the top of the story, I understood that you needed to kind of present the scene or bring everybody in. That was interesting. Oh, I wrote research Louise Bennett just because it has that cultural feel and it reminded me of Louise Bennett. And also your style of elocution or presentation or whatever. Auntie Thea is somebody else who's a storyteller. You have that kind of vibes or aura about you that I think is very interesting. I wrote doesn't sound written, which adds to that. Oh, well, doesn't sound written is not bad or good, but it's something that I think you could think about in terms of whether you want the work to be in print or is it something that you're going to do as an act where you go up on stage in the tradition of Auntie Thea, Louise Bennett, or this other guy who had a tent where he told stories. There were one or two words that I questioned. I think something you said, Jared said sadly, and I was thinking, is sadly the word you meant to use there? Because it didn't feel like he was sad. Maybe Jared could have been frustrated or I guess worry was the emotion in that sense, in that scene. Oh, and I also had authorial intrusion. I felt like more things should have happened. So maybe what I'm saying is the story was a little too short. I felt like there were some things more that needed to happen in the story.
Yes, you are right. But I didn't want to take too long because I know other people have to read. So I just cut it to suit the timing.
Thanks, Velma. I thought in the story when you said she was popular, I really thought it was taking another turn. like she ran off with somebody or something like that. But that's the romance writer in me.
Yeah, there could have been many different avenues to go down, lanes to go down, but I didn't want to go there.
Yes. All right. If there are no other comments, we're gonna go ahead.
Thank you all.
My pleasure. Thank you for sharing. Shahira?
Hey.
Hi. Okay, Shahira will be reading for us Karma's Idea by Cassie.
Let's begin. One step at an unforgettable time leads to another, and others sublime, lofty in thought, not just heads above water. First, the bending of one knee, then steady leg lifting before planting. An idea of walking into unknown, night or clarity of hopeful day. The next leg of its journey consciousness filled, coming at you like a moment, going the other way, saying hi and goodbye, dressed in 6 realms, asking you to choose but one, not to linger on, but to let go of oops, an improper sentence ending sentence. And that's it for this poem written by Cassie Sangor.
Thank you. Wonderful reading. Any comments?
I like it as a study of something that we normally do without thinking. That such complex action is done without experiencing it.
Yes, so true. Cassie actually wrote a piece for us explaining the poem, and I will post it after meeting on Poetry and Prose. And I hope I could get everything, the essence of what he said, basically, that he wanted it to show karma as being a continuous motion. And the idea of basically walking into the unknown. And it went deeper into addressing the 6 realms. So I'm going to try to play the audio for you so you can hear his explanation. Just give me a moment. Okay. Okay, let me know if you're hearing it well. If not, I'll just have to wait to post it.
So I'll talk it out, try to be brief. All right, so what the poem is saying really is that it was a poem to a photo of 2 tall boots, you know, kind of working boots. They didn't have any human in it. It was just on one stepping forward, like into a little puddle, like, you know. I can't copy the picture even to show you, right? But that is a picture to which we had to write. And we had to write about karma. So karma's idea, my poem, here is stating that because karma is activity, not just bad results of doing things, it could be bad or good or indifferent, it's always going on. You know, right now I'm talking and I'm creating karma. Right? When you are listening to this, you are creating karma. You know, karma is constant and everywhere. But everything changes, you see. And during the course of a day, sometimes the course of a moment, we could change from mild, happy, smiling to angry. Or, you know, we can become a victim in no time, as you know, in this country. You could become a victim, or you could become a lucky winner in playway or something. It just keeps changing. You know, you could pass on the road, you hear a conversation, and change your mood altogether. You become sad, you know? Or you could be in a situation where, you know, you feel high and mighty, then you kind of, you know, boy, that I'm glad I am me. You know, I'm sorry for them. I'm glad I'm not like that. You know, that kind of way. So all these various things are karma in themselves. And that's what the poem is trying to say. In the ending there, I'm trying to say that we can't free ourselves of karma, but what we can do is transform to such a degree that the karma does not affect let's say our behavior at one level, our thinking at another level, or our spirituality at another level, you know, and of course it does not affect those who are enlightened. You know, but karma will come and karma will go like a breeze passing, you know, high and by kind of thing. So I hope that helps. Let me know if it does. Right?
Okay, I think it really helps, and I hope everyone was able to hear it. Please, if you have any comments to add, kindly unmute and share.
Yeah, I like that. I agree with the concept that karma is something that you put out and it comes back to you. So it's a kind of a cause and effect relationship.
Yes.
But is that what he was saying, Darren? Because it almost seemed to like how he phrased it, it felt like you can be attacked by karma, but is karma attacking you?
Well, why I got that impression is in terms of the poem and in terms of taking steps. I saw that it could be taken to mean that the steps you take can lead to those outcomes, to finding yourself at a disadvantage, or maybe finding yourself with a desirable outcome. But sometimes taking steps, especially if you're going into unknown territory, is always a scary thing. Walking into a dark unknown room is something where you always suddenly find yourself watching your steps very carefully.
Thank you so much for that insightful thoughts. All right, I'm gonna go ahead. I am up. Okay, so I wrote this piece a while ago. It's called "You Are Beautiful For, I'm Ugly Because." But then I had a conversation with a friend this morning, and it just gave me a whole different thought process on my my poem. So I'm gonna take a leap and read something that I wrote earlier. No edit, I haven't had time to edit or change or anything. So this is just raw, in its raw form. So forgive, be gentle, be kind. All right. And here we go. Look beyond the glossy pictures of the glimmering ocean blues and talk to someone who knows. They will tell you, I'm ugly because hollow men haunt my cracked streets. Mornings smell like dog shit and pollution litter betray the minds of my people. The greedy lay in wait on my children, feeding on digital scraps, creating morally bankrupt, culturally malnourished hearts. You are beautiful for creating a world that make my heart sing, wide open spaces and a variety of faces, Insta-worthy places, kindness on shorts. Come one, come all, you call. You, once you have a ticket, no need to know a body. Once you're bleeding green, things nice and jobs easy. Us? No way. Like Trini say, not we at all. Look beyond the hills and the glitz and talk to someone who knows of tents in a line and needles in parks, bodies for sale. You must know where to go after dark. Vastness, better to absorb the screams. You are beautiful for kissed kitties that fly with pigeons. A mosque and a temple side by side. Care for all, no bill in the mail. Lecture halls without having to trade debt for years. Look beyond and see. And my inspiration for this piece is just basically Trinidad in the US personified, talking to each other. So any comments before I read my other piece?
Who's the beautiful one? The United States or Trinidad?
They're arguing back and forth. So initially, Trinidad starts with look beyond the pictures of the glimmering ocean blues.
Okay.
And then they say, but you're beautiful because, you wide open spaces. And then the US says, not we, look beyond the glitz and the hills and the tents lined. And then it says to Trinidad, you're beautiful for the kissed kitties that fly with the pigeons.
Okay,
So it's a back and forth.
okay. It's just like a dialogue, okay.
Mhm.
Very interesting, Gosia.
Thanks.
It's nice. It's like the grass is always greener on the other side.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, I was interested by I was listening. I didn't hear two what would you call that? A continent talking to an island or two populations talking to each other. But I heard two mothers or something in conversation, and I was trying to get where you were going with that.
Nice, that's interesting. Thanks. Okay, so I'll move on to my last piece. It's called Gray Days. Gray days give me comfort. Cool breezes make me smile. I walk alone in the autumn, wrap my arms tight. Bitter coffee, worlds captured in script. Cloudy moods betray me. Love glimmers on the ocean. Dreams are built with sand. Quick, run, get more water. Crumbling castles beaten by the waves. I go back to my before winter, air of truth, not quite ready for a coat. No longer the devil's season. And that's my piece. Any comments? Well, thank you for listening. I'm going to move ahead to Heather. She'll be sharing a poem with us called Trini Skylark.
Well, Gershia, over a year ago, maybe longer, on Poetry and Prose, we discussed one time the sweet man, Saga boy persona. And I just wrote a fun little thing called the Trini Skylark. And it's very lighthearted, but after living in Canada for 50 odd years, I'm kind of attracted to the Trini street person, fun person. So here is my little take on the Trini Skylark. The Trini Skylark flitting all around. You could find him anywhere, going from town to town. From Sawa to Dabadi, from Manrico to Toko. Whole day he on the run. Boy, just watch him go. I see him down the road once, chatting up a lady. I wave and call, I even shout, but he pretend he ain't see me. He might be lying on the corner or even on the wrong shop, or running fast for the bus, making the step in just one hop. Sweet man like to lay hay, morning, noon, and night, leaving them women with tobacco, whether rain or shine. Is how he liked to drive all through the night, and he's such a troublemaker, always running from the fight. He know how to stir the pot way and leave it dry day for everybody else to fix. How he never have to pay. That Trini skylarking here and there. How he make a living, he ain't working anywhere. Is all them lady friend he have all across the island. They just feed and clothe him and put money in his hand. But you know what they say, someday it all will end. Is one day Congo day. Bound to catch up with he, my friend. Thank you.
I love it.
Short and sweet. Only to still say one day Congo day.
No, but I still love it. And
and you notice how I sneak in the little writing exercise there, with the lay and the tobacco.
Yes, I saw you sneaked in the writing exercise. That does not exclude you from it.
Oh, God. Okay.
Okay, any comments, please?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. There's one in every family, and if you don't know who it is, it's you.
I too old now. I'm 72 this year.
I like it. I like the poem. It's kind of my kind of poem. It was nice.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, Heather, I could not think of a better way to end this session. we are going to stop recording at this time so we can go into our poetry discussions. And that part of our program will not be recorded. So we thank you, everyone, for your reading and everyone for commenting. We're going to sign off now. Everyone, please don't hang up. Don't click off Zoom. We'll still be here. We're just stopping the recording.